vocals okay? I'm wondering about there. Yeah. Is that right? Home. Okay, I'm going to turn it off for a moment. Is it working there? Is that enough? Okay. Sahana bhavatu, sahano bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram Satchidananda Rupaya Vishvotpatyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishna Yavayam Namaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pranamami Hari Priye. So this time we can do Bhagavat invocation together instead of Om Janmadyasya yaton vayati taratas chateshvabhignaswarat Tene brahmhridaya adikavaye Muhyanti yatsuraya Tejo varimridam yatha vinimayo Yatra trisargo mrisha Dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam Satyam varam dhimahi Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo Nirmatsaranam satam Vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayonmulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamunikrite Kim va parerishvaraha Sadyoridhyavarudyate trakritibihi Shushrushubistakshanat Nigamakalpatarorgalitam palam Shukamukharamratadravasamyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka. Hare Murare Madhukaita Bhare Hare Murare Madhukaita Bhare Govinda Gopala Mukunda Shore Govinda Mukunda Shore. Sorry. I get nervous when I do it here. At home I do it with that. I think I'm going to mess up, so I mess up. We create our own world, right? Our own. Ananta Sridhara Govinda Keshava Ananta Sridhara Govinda Keshava Mukunda Madhava Narayana Mukunda Madhava Narayana Hare Murare Madhukaita Bhare Murare Madhukaita Bhare Govinda Gopala Mukunda Shore Govinda Gopala Mukunda Shore Devaki Tanaya Gopika Ramana Devaki Tanaya Gopika Ramana Bhakta Udharana Trivikrama Bhakta Dharana Trivikrama Hare Murare Madhukaita Bhare Govinda Gopala Mukunda Shore Govinda Mukunda Shore. Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan Ki Jai, Shri Radhe Radhe Shama. Luckily, Bhagavan's the doer, Bhagavan's the listener, Bhagavan is everything. So, all right, so last time we saw the amazing Leela of when Brahmaji stole away the calves and the cowherd boys, the gopas, and Bhagavan replicated himself as all of them, exactly as they were. Cows, boys, everybody. And for a whole year, he played, as them. And all the parents and inhabitants of Vrindavan loved them, their own children, even more because it was pure Bhagavan without any I-ness, my-ness. And so finally, when Brahmaji came back a year later and was dismayed to see that Bhagavan had done this, what was that? Did I hit it? Oh, okay. He's really going to play flute. Okay, that's good. That's good. So when Brahmaji realized, well, he came and he saw all the same ones that he thought he had put, and he had put in a cave under a deep, deep sleep. But Lord, because Brahmaji thought his Maya, his power of creation was greater, was the greatest. And Bhagavan's own Maya overwhelmed his powers, overwhelmed Brahmaji's powers. And when Brahmaji's, pride and was surrendered, then he was given this fantastic vision of when he saw that out of all those hundreds of children and the calves, that Vishnu forms, perfect whole Vishnu forms came out of each one of them, showing it Vishnu, which means that which goes everywhere, which is all pervading. And then all those Vishnu forms merged into one. The flute in his hand and the rice ball in his hand. Rice ball and curd. All his play. Yeah. So from the one came the many, and the many back into the one. And so Brahmaji then understood, and he realized his mistake, and eventually Balaramji, he recognized that this is very different. What's going on? Everybody's loving everyone else even more. And so it was said at the end of the chapter that, why is that? Parikshit had asked that question to Shukadev, and Shukadev said, because the self is everyone's greatest love. Everything and everyone is loved due to the self. Capital S. Atma. Because everyone is that. And so Leela. And another point here is that now, yes, it's on. Yeah. Maybe I had already mentioned, but of course we've seen, so far many asuras, and we'll see more, who are representing the negative tendencies arising out of ignorance. And those have to be removed, which is shown in these Krishna's Leelas of either destroying them or merging in him. Now, Brahmaji was the first Devata, though, and so we'll see Leelas where the Devatas don't represent those essentially negative tendencies, but the ego or pride that can come from our sattvic capabilities or powers, right? Like Brahmaji, his power to create. So our capacity to be creative, or like in technological advances, any kind of advancement of that type that we do with our intellect. And scientific inventions are wonderful, but then they can also create the atom bomb if that intellect is covered with ignorance. And so end up destroying. So, in other words, those tendencies then have to be sublimated by knowing that whatever power, talent, ability we have is for the glory of the divine, the service of all beings. So, okay, now, this is still when Balaramji and Sri Krishna were around 6 years old, and as always, they would every morning go out into the pastures in the forest with the and now they're responsible for cows. 6 years old, they're responsible even now for cows. So, and everywhere they went, wherever their feet went, everything was sanctified. The ground was sanctified. And Bhagavan would be playing his flute. They would all the Gopa boys would be singing the praises of Sri Krishna and Balaramji. And one day they entered a beautiful grassy clearing with blossoming trees. And it says that Sri Krishna was very pleased by the pleasant breeze that was blowing over the surface of the lakes. Very calm, like the minds of good people. Right? And the breeze was carrying the fragrance of the blooming flowers. And Lord chose this as his place for his sport. So it is said that we want to make our mind attractive to the Lord, to make it cool, meaning calm, tranquil, and yet fragrant with noble qualities. Then the Lord himself will be attracted to come play his sport within our mind, in our heart and mind. And it appeared that the leaves of the trees and the plants were bowing down to the Lord's feet. And by the way, if you ever go to Vrindavan, there is a grove. I'm forgetting the name of it, but where it's all tulsi plants, and they're all bowed down. They're not like anywhere else. They're all like that. And it is said that that's where the Vasalina took place. And actually, after dusk, no one is allowed inside. It is said that, either one goes crazy or dies. But die probably from ecstatic bliss. I don't know, or short circuits, because if we're not ready for it, right? But so it's true. And there's also Radha Krishna deities in there, worshipped every day. There's lots of monkeys too. So, Vrindavan's amazing. So now, Sri Krishna, you see, he's always, praising others and always there to help everyone, and to give them joy. And so now he begins praising Balaramji. And he goes, "Oh, great one, at thy feet, which have received the worship of the Devas, these trees are making prostrations and offerings of flowers and fruits borne on their heads, bowing down to you. O original being, Adi Purusha, the honey beetles are singing your praise and worshiping you with every sound they produce, like some great sages. And the peacocks are dancing. Beautiful description of kokilas. How do you? Kokilas? Kokila. Yeah, they're beautiful sound. They're welcoming you. And he says all the plants and the creepers here are all blessed. All the rivers and mountains and birds and animals are all blessed by receiving just your glances at them. Of course, that very same thing is said when a guru, a realized saint, just even looks at us. We have no idea, how blessed we are. Isn't it? Vivekachudamani also says just the glance, even a side glance on them can, So, and the beautiful thing is here also that, everything in nature is actually praising God, the divine, by their very sound, their expression, their very being, which is their nature, right? So everything, by expressing its own nature, is praising God. So, now, Shukadev says here, again he describes the sweetness of these gopas, playing with Sri Krishna and Balaramji, all bedecked with garlands, and he says Sri Krishna is seen singing in one place along with the inebriated and buzzing honey beetles, accompanied by his brother Balaram and extolled by his companions. Delighting the cows, Sri Krishna would call them by name, hundreds of them, probably thousands actually, and he knew each of them by name. And his voice was sonorous like thunder. And they all the cows knew his voice. Yeah? So, and how, when Sri Krishna was tired, he would lay down with his head in one of the gopas' laps, and someone else would wash his feet and massage his feet. And in this way, hiding his real identity by the power of his own Maya, and assuming the form and activities of a cowherd boy, he who is in reality the supreme divine, ever served by Lakshmi, his consort, lived a rustic's life amidst humble rural folk. Because simplicity protects spirituality. You may remember that from the story of when the Lord was taken from the prison to Gokul. Living amidst the cowherd community was a way to protect him from Kamsa, so showing us also that spirituality, as it's growing in us, is protected by simplicity. Okay, now, one day, one of the cowherd boys, Sridham, along with Subala, Stoka Krishna, and Stoka Krishna, they were great friends of Sri Krishna, and they came up to him and said, "Oh Krishna, there is a forest of tala trees, some kind of palm, special kind of palm tree, in a certain place, and it's full of these wondrous fruits, but we cannot get them because there is this wild, huge donkey, Dhenukasura, who is guarding that grove. He and his family, right? And he's so monstrous, huge, very, very powerful, and also he's a cannibal. He eats human flesh. Right? He said nobody can go even near there. Everything is under his control. So please help us. Can we, even by thinking about those fruits, we would love to have those. And so Bhagavan just laughed, and he's ever ready to oblige. So he and Balaram, and with the cowherd boys, they go to this tala tree grove. Balaram, because Balaram is very, very powerful, and he starts shaking the trees, and all the fruits come falling down, making a loud sound as they're falling, through the leaves and onto the ground. And this donkey, Dhenukasura, is furious when he hears that these fruits are coming down. And he's powerful. He approached Balaram, and he came dashing towards him, then turned his hind feet towards him and kicked Balaram. But Balaram wasn't affected. And he starts running around Balaram, braying. You know how donkeys can bray, right? And imagine this very monstrous one, when they're angry and their big teeth, They got huge teeth. And then he came at him, and Balaram, as the donkey Dhenukasura was again backing up to him, Balaram grabbed him by his hind legs and whirled him around with one arm. I have these, so even thinking, we have to let him do the work. And he throws him around and then off throws him into the top of the trees. And the Dhenukasura dies just even from that whirling. And then when his body falls down to the ground, it was like that tree fell down that he was first in, and then it became like dominoes. So one tree after another kept falling down. Then all the family of this Dhenukasura came running out furiously, again, all trying to destroy Krishna and Balaram. And both of them took them by their hind legs and threw them into the tops of the trees. You can pass it if you want. So much so that it looked like, and they're all different, shades of colors, so it looked like there were different cloud colors, variegated colors of clouds in the sky. And so all the celestials then rained down flowers, celebrating the destruction of Dhenukasura and the other donkey demons. And the cowherd boys were able to consume all the fruits that they wanted to. And as they went home later, they were singing the glories of Sri Krishna. Now, who or what is that Dhenukasura? Anyone know? Representing. I mean, it's not that it actually happened, but so it is said, the saints say, that Dhenukasura represents Deha Adhyas, meaning, that we can't get, it means body identification, and that we cannot have the fruits of our sadhana if it's done with body identification. Meaning, that basically that's still me, mine, what I do, all right? So, there's many aspects of this. That interesting that Dhenukasura was cannibal, because obviously Deha Adhyas, or identification with body, feeds on the body. Feeds, metaphorically speaking, right? Some Mahatma, maybe it's whoever it is, says that this Tala also means taraka mantra, or your sadhana or mantra for crossing samsara. So that's prevented by this Dhenukasura. And also, notice, I remember Guruji telling us that last manifestation of Devi in Navaratri, she's riding on a donkey. In fact, she's naked on a donkey, and that represents the last thing to go before, realization is that body identification. Because it's very stubborn, like a donkey, very, very stubborn and very strong. Even St. Francis called his own body brother donkey. It's true, he did. He did, yeah. Oh my God, his austerity was, oh my gosh, it was intense. But interesting too, the Lord used in this Leela, Balaram Krishna used the bodies of the donkeys to get the fruits. That's why I think that the message is that, the body, we're in the body is, itself is is the fruit of the past, and it's our kshetra, our field, our equipment in order to realize, right? To do sadhana. Nice. Huh? Yeah. So, he never rejects anything, right? Everything is for that. So, let me see if there's anything else. Oh, yes. And it also, Dhenukasura also represents particularly tamas and the tendency to hold on to things, So that maya that comes from identifying only this, right? And so they were able to enjoy the fruits after that. Now, another day. So another day, unaccompanied by Balaramji, now you know why, right? When Balaram is there, so Balaram did not accompany them this day. And Shri Krishna with the Gopa boys went about their day in the pastures in the forest, and they were very thirsty, and they came down to Yamunaji river. But they ran ahead. The boys ran ahead of Shri Krishna. But the moment they drank some of that water, they fell down dead on the banks of Yamunati. Some were only washing their face, and they keeled over because that place, Yamuna, had become poisoned. Why? First of all, when Sri Krishna caught up with them, all he had to do was by his look. They were revived. So Krishna also raises the dead. Right? And it's very interesting because, I'm taking it now from the water of life. It's a biblical image also. But here, you see, he is the water of life. So what does that water of life, and water also represents consciousness. Bhagavan being pure consciousness itself, merely again by that glance. They were all revived. And Krishna, the master even of the masters of yoga, Yogeshwara Eshwara, not just the Lord of yoga, he's the Lord of all the yogis who are lords of yoga. Revive them by the look of his eyes, which shed the nectar of immortality. And when they all woke up, this Krishna is, they realized it was all entirely due. the friend of all. Now, seeing that the water of Kalindi, Yamunaji, had been poisoned by this Kaliya, black serpent, Krishna wished to purify the river. Now also, Kalindi, meaning here, she is the daughter of the sun, said to be the daughter of the sun, and the sister of Yamaraj. So Yamuna. And again, what she represents is the reflection of consciousness. The daughter of the sun. Now, so if that, meaning our jiva, jivatma, consciousness, when that becomes poisoned, if it becomes poisoned by ajnana, what happens? And then, first of all, Raja Parikshit asks, so how did this serpent get there? And why was he there? I want to hear all about this. And Shushukadev says, in the Kalindi, there was a deep cavern where the water was boiling with this poison of this Kaliya serpent. It was so poisonous that even when birds would fly over it, they would die from the fumes. Like in the environment. Yeah, these leelas have a message at every level. That's what I love also about these two. Because that Kaliya, what is that Kaliya in society? Is that greed for too much materialism. So the factories, pour all the pollution into the rivers and into the air, the fumes in the air, as we know. Don't tell me that. Oh dear. Well, Bhagavan's got a big job to do. I think he's on his way to do it. It looks like. Okay. Yeah, it's also shrunk. But anyway, okay. But they say, the Vaishnavas say that all of that is only the appearance. That underneath, at the spiritual reality level, which of course is true from the Vedanta. So, now, extremely, extremely poisonous. And now Bhagavan resolved to remove this Kaliya serpent who was poisoning the river from which everyone was coming to get water, to drink, to everything. So he climbed up this Kadamba tree. And he put his flute in his waist and he slapped his arms like a wrestler. And you can go to this place too, Kaliya Ghat. So he dove in and made as loud a sound as possible. It says that the impact made by this supreme being who holds the entire universe in his belly, that's pretty heavy. And so that's the volume of the sound he made as he splashed into waters. And the serpent Kaliya, what is this? Became very, very agitated, and the flaming poison started coming out from him, and rushed into where he heard the sound of that splashing. What could that be? And he, my home is being invaded. Mine, mine, mine. And he could not stand that. And on seeing Krishna, beautiful, sporting in the water fearlessly, yeah, the serpent attacked him and started biting him from all sides. And in great anger, he was again winding himself. Here's the cowherd boys. Yeah, first Krishna awakening them or reviving them, giving them rebirth, spiritual rebirth. Then here, Kaliya started coiling all around Sri Krishna and overpowering him. Actually, there was a point where he was even hidden. Krishna was hidden inside all the coils of Kaliya. Now all his dear friends, the cowherd boys on the banks of the river, were becoming overpowered with sorrow and grief because they thought, some fear that something was going to happen to Krishna. Even the cows and the calves were lowing with grief. And somehow all the people, someone must have run to tell the people of Vrindavan. And also they were feeling it in their bodies, when we feel something strange, something's not good going on, right? And Balaram ran down there with them to the river. Of course, Balaramji knew what was going on. He knew. But because but the venerable Balaram, who was only a manifestation of Krishna, knew his brother's prowess and so kept silent, smiling at the consternation. But the people, not knowing and feeling Krishna was their very life, their life breath, you can imagine, imagine if you see a child or something in such danger like that. And so there's a point where Sri Krishna became motionless within the coils. The boys began lying unconscious on the riverside. And even Yashodaji, when she got down there, she was trying to get out into the water. Nothing was going to stop her. But Balaram kept her back, and kept even Nanda Baba back from going into the water. So he didn't let them go. Now, Sri Krishna, seeing that all his beloved people were feeling like they were going to die themselves, and Krishna began swelling his body inside the coils of Kaliya until that became very painful for Kaliya, but yet he was hissing and blowing out his poison through his nostrils, and he was licking his lips with his, many heads, many split tongues. But Sri Krishna then started jumping on each head that would arise and dancing on each head. So as head thing, Sri Krishna would jump on that one and dance, Tandava dance, one after another, and his feet, his footprint would go on each of Kaliya's heads, on which there was a ruby on each head of Kaliya, and so that even beautified the feet of Sri Krishna, and his imprint got there. So, dancing. Finally, Kaliya, his energy was being depleted. But the Lord is the master of all fine arts. And as he danced this dance, just like Lord Shiva, dancing on the dwarf. Finally, the Kalia it began to bleed then from his mouth because he was really being crushed. Not to death, though. Not to death. So, but when any of the trampled heads stood erect again, those were made to droop by the stroke of the Lord's heels, as he, the primeval being, put on them, performed his dance on those hoods while flowers ranged from above. And finally, Kalia himself was worn down. And then as he looked at Sri Krishna, he began to think, he's the master of all beings. He says, Kalia began to think of the Lord, the master of all beings, moving and unmoving, and took refuge in him mentally. Finally, his surrender. And as he surrendered, all the wives of Kalia came rushing to Sri Krishna because they didn't want their husband to die. And so then they start praising Sri Krishna. There's a beautiful hymn of the wives of Kalia and saying, you have come only for the welfare of all beings and for even the salvation of the wicked ones. And they say that, yes, there's justice for Kalia because of his evil deed, yet they say, but how blessed he must be that Bhagavan has put his feet on all Kalia's heads. What a great blessing. And they say, what blessing, or what great merits he must have done before. And he says, for that is what pleases thee, who art in all jivas. In order to have this privilege of bearing the dust of thy feet, Sri Devi, abandoning all enjoyments, performed austerities for a long time. And they go on. And they also say that, those who have taken shelter at thy feet, O Lord, they do not want anything else in this world, whether it's even desire for heaven or being king, emperor, even they don't want yogic powers. They don't even pray for release from samsara, because to surrender, to have taken shelter at thy feet is, for thy service is far superior to them all. And they also say here, because Kalia also represents that tamas, right? They said, but you are the witness of all three gunas, and you are the substratum of all three gunas. So have mercy on Kalia and on us. And the Lord, takes mercy, gives mercy to them all, and he doesn't destroy Kalia. We will see the meaning of that as well. But he says, now you must go from here. You almost go back to Ramanaka Island in the sea, where you originally came from. And there, it is explained then that, so Ramanaka also means, to revel in bliss. We'll see the meaning of that. Why did Kalia leave Ramanaka Island? Because, so there was a place where all the serpents lived, this group of serpents, and the people would offer, once a month they would make offerings to the serpents at the base of a tree. Right? And then the serpents would offer those to Garuda. But this Kalia, who is proud of his power and authority over the other serpents, he took the offering himself. And he didn't offer it to Garuda. Garuda was very angry and um, was attacking Kalia. Kalia ran off to this particular pool area of Yamuna. Now this is another. Why was he safe there? He was only safe there from Garuda, the vehicle of Vishnu or Vishnu, because Garuda also had done something once by eating a fish in that pool area, which there was a sage living there also, who was very unhappy that he had eaten this fish, because that fish was also so all that, I don't know what you call it, not a colony of fish, what do you call it? School, big school. Anyway, they were very affected by losing their leader fish. So that sage, of course, being compassionate, said, "Don't, Garuda, you cannot come here." So Kali was safe in that particular pool of Yamunaji. But now, Bhagavan says to Kaliya, Garudaji will not hurt you now. Why? Because my footprint is not here. And so, Kaliya with his heart happily goes back to Yamuna. Now, so much meaning. So, this Yamuna, this pool of Yamunaji is, we know Kaliya is that another expression of that ahamkara, right? And in fact, before I forget, that for Raja Yogis, this story represents Krishna dancing on the Kundalini. See? Yeah, and that, of course, Lord is the supreme, that, Paramatma is the Lord. And the coils of the serpent is the Kundalini power. So, Yogeshwara Ishwara. Now, but if this Kaliya gets into the pool, the water of our heart, right, has to be, it poisons, can poison everything. And another thing is that Visha means poison, right? And Vishaya means objects and poison. Oh, and Vekachudamani, also Shankaracharya, says that the poison of objects is more powerful than actual poison. Why? Because just by seeing it, mind can get disturbed, hearing, etc., right? So, that's the poison, huh? Now, so what has to happen? How do we remove that Kaliya? What is in our heart? I have to let Bhagavan dive in and make a big splash. A big splash in our life. You can do that in various ways. He always knows how to do it. And Swami Jyotirmananda says that when the Lord first makes the big splash in our life, or in our heart, meaning that awakening, Kundalini, or awakening that spiritual consciousness, right? He says, because of, lifetimes of all that visha, inside us, we get very disturbed because we become aware of our imperfections or weaknesses. Right? And if someone doesn't have really much spiritual consciousness at all, that doesn't bother them. No, there's always a way to defend it or make it worse, all that. But when we start becoming aware, then it's very disturbing, right? It's very uncomfortable. And what he says, he says that, so all these, the ego will react to that, but he says, we will find as we continue our sadhana that nothing, the ego may spit fire poison, but as we allow the Lord to work in us, he says, we find that nothing can put out the fire of aspiration, of spiritual aspiration. And that we find that one or another obstacle comes up, or awareness of things, but the Lord, keep the Lord there in your heart, and the heads of Kaliya represent different, these different vrittis, so negative vrittis, but as the Lord, we let him dance on the heads of those thoughts, they become spiritual vrittis, thoughts, with his imprint on every thought. So, any questions? That often it's the bruises in life that make us think of the Lord more. But eventually, we won't feel it like that. Oh, yeah. Scrubbing, huh? Scrubbing. Yeah. So, and the Kaliya's wives here represent the purified vrittis. But they're always there as well. That's the real essence of them, isn't it? Yeah. Because it's only all thought, everything is the energy, the divine energy. Right? And it's only when those get blocked in some way that it becomes the negative, right? I mean, that's all human psychology. Yeah. The child is encouraged, loved, appreciated, right? As childhood, they grow up to be self-confident, balanced, happy. If the opposite happens, then they grow up angry, hateful. That has to be just turned around to see that. The Vedantic teaching, that you are divine. You are divine. You've always been divine. So, okay. So we have to let all our thoughts bear the marks of the Lord's feet in the pool of our heart. And, okay. Now, follow-up story. So I can do another short one here. Is that all right? Shall I? So, now the Gopas and Shri Krishna, Balaramji, they actually didn't go back, did not return to the settlement that night, but spent the night on the banks of the Yamuna. But during the night, a forest fire arose, and which was common in the summertime, as it is elsewhere, but that fire was threatening to burn them all up, and they woke up Sri Krishna, took shelter in him, and the Lord said that he swallowed that fire. There's two forest fires, 2 times, yeah? And they said to him, "We are prepared to die, but not to give up thy feet, at which fear has no place." And so Sri Krishna drank up that fire, disappeared into his mouth. Why? Because, as in the Purusha Suktam, fire is born from the Lord's mouth, which also represents speech. And so here, now it's also said, say that this fire was not an asura, but actually it was Agnidev, and he wanted to burn up the fruits that were things that were on the earth around that poisonous, where Kali had been, because the Gopas wouldn't have known that would even poison, the surrounding plants and trees and things. So this was to keep them from being harmed. And Guruji said that this also represents that learning, part of sadhana is learning to control our speech. It's a tough one, okay? So, yeah, conquering speech in order to make spiritual progress. Otherwise, fire can burn like a snake or like a cat, So, and the Brahmaji represented the intellect and speech, right? And it is really so amazing, if you get to be around Gurudev or Guruji or Swami Shantananda, how amazing their speech. I mean, and they say things in ways that, I've been around Guruji the most, and it's never the words that, that hurt somebody else, it's always, and the way they speak to somebody who maybe has created some problem or whatever, but they know how to speak in such a way that calms that person down, and heals rifts. So I think Swami Ramakrishnananda was talking about that in regard to Rama, Lord Rama, and how he handled that meeting with all the board meeting with all the the bears and the yeah. That was another point. So, okay. All right. Now, one other short one I can do. Is that all right, or shall I stop and do just a chant? No, I think that's enough. You've listened a lot. You sure? No? Okay. Okay. This is go fast. So, what is it? So, as Balaram and Krishna were sporting about in the assumed form of Gopas, there was another asura who he came also disguised as a Gopa boy. Pralambasura. And this is when he entered the group as they were all playing all kinds of games. And again, beautiful description of all the kind of games they would play together, and imitating animals and the birds. Krishna would dance, and others would sing, and they would crack jokes together, and play blind man's buff, playing leapfrog, and all kinds of games. And that's when this is disguised as one of the other cowherd boys, a new cowherd boy. But Krishna, who knows everyone individually and can't be, he sees through every disguise, right? He approached the asura and cultivated his friendship. And then he said, let's play a game. And so he divided everybody up into two opposing teams of equal age and strength. And he made Balaram the leader of one and himself the leader of another. And they're divided up. And whatever the game was, whoever lost, the defeated person would have to carry on his shoulders the victorious counterpart on the other team. And so sometimes, Krishna's group was carrying others, and sometimes Balaramji's was carrying other from Krishna's group. And there the party of Balaram, having the boys Sridham and Vrishabha as its members, was successful, etc. And so Krishna and others took them on their shoulders and walked with them. Now, being defeated, Krishna once carried Sridham on his shoulder, and another cowherd boy. So Pralamba, the Pralambasura who was disguised, had to carry Balaram on his shoulders. Now, knowing that Krishna was all powerful, he carried Balaram off to a distance to be far away from Sri Krishna. Now, carrying Balaram, who was like very heavy as a mountain, the asura was slowing down. It was getting a little hard to move faster. And he resumed his form as the asura, so that, before being far away so nobody else could see him. And he grew in size. And it looked as if, see, Balaramji was fair in complexion, right? But this asura looked like, the asura looked like a cloud adorned with streaks of lightning and carrying the moon. Then, it says Balaramji got a little nervous because the asura was traveling so fast to begin with through the air, and then getting bigger and bigger, and he had fierce fangs. His hair was flaming. So even Balaram got a little nervous. But then Balaram, on the memory of his own divinity being restored, again became fearless. And like Indra hurling thunderbolts, he delivered punches into the head of that asura again and again till he was blown out, right? And that asura fell down to the ground, dead, slain by Balaram. And the gopas were shouting, "Well done, well done, Jai, Jai." And devas showering their flowers on Balaramji. So, Pralambasura. Now, what is Pralambasura? Lamba, long, and it means also greed, right? Or to acquire, isn't it? Pralamba also would mean longer, more and more and more, more and more. Moreism, moreism. Yeah. So, in other words, greed. And so that's why when he later he started growing and growing in size. So never enough, never enough. What's that book? Too much and never enough. Okay. Anyway, lumba means long. Yeah. So it indicates greed, growing and growing. There's never never enough. What is it Gandhi said? There's enough in the world for every need, but not enough for even one man's greed. And greed wants to hide itself. And so, is a coward. And another point, okay, so that greed has to be removed. Another point Guruji told us is that, the fact that he came in disguise, looking as if he's a team player. There can be people that come as look like they're team players, but they're actually wanting to steal the fire, steal whatever it is. They're not really team players. They want to come in and then push everybody else out, So that's very interesting. And I think I mentioned this another time before, that Anandaji says that Sri Krishna represents also Atma-dhyana, knowledge of the self, but for our sadhana, we need both Atma-dhyana and Atma-bala, strength, that inner strength to overcome, describe it, yeah? Because sometimes I think it's easier to have the knowledge, right? It's not. Yeah, that bala is, very easy to have the knowledge, Yeah. So, so they're seeing more and more of Sri Krishna's who he is. Slowly. So I'll just do. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Sadgurunatha Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radhe Radhe